I just feel like that's pretty helpful. Okay, so you have a name tent. Thank you for making the name tent. So far, I think I can see everybody's name tent. Okay, great. That'll help me learn your names. I don't have a name tent, but I'm Mr. G. I think you'll memorize that very quickly. You also picked up a student information sheet. If you've already started filling that out, great. I'd like you to please fill that out, and then I'll collect it on Wednesday. And then I'll take it home, and my favorite activity the first week of school is to read about 60 or 70 of these. I pour myself a nice tall glass of iced tea, and I sit down and I read about you all. So please let me know anything I need to know to help you better as a student. And then finally, I gave you a couple other packets there. I gave you the syllabus. So we're going to talk about that today. I gave you a syllabus quiz, which is also due on Wednesday. That's to highlight key information from the syllabus. And then I also gave you your note packet from chapter 1. So we're going to fill this out. That's the bulk of what we do in class time, is that we go through this chapter 1 note packet and we fill in all the notes together. So normally I give a little bit of time for you to just sit there and look through that information. But I say let's just dive in and start going, because I do have more information to share with you before we start doing the math. First of all, does anyone have any questions before we keep moving on here? Okay, all right. So good morning, more like good afternoon. I'm Mr. Gabriel and Mr. G. Just sit back right now. You don't have to write anything down. First of all, thanks for signing in on the attendance sheet. So the attendance sheet, you'll notice, had 2 columns, on time and target. So if you're here on time, you fill in the on time part. And then as my phone rings and says, all you need is love, and it's 12:30, I'll go back there and cross out the rest of the on time list, forcing you to sign in on the tardy side. And that's how I keep track of you being tardy or not. Of course, your goal is to be on time every single day of class, which you all are doing already. You have a perfect track record. Keep that up. Thank you for making a name tent. That'll help me memorize your name. So please bring that for the next month. And also thank you for filling out your student information sheet. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reading that. That helps me with insight into how I can better help you. In general, we'll start class by having a warm-up problem on the board. And that's when you would want to talk to a neighbor. So like right now, Emily, you have no one sitting next to you. But you can always turn to one of the gentlemen behind you or turn to one of the ladies in front of you. And that way, everybody should have a buddy, or pairs of 2 or 3, to talk during the warm-up. So today's excitement, I'm going to introduce you to myself. I want to hear from all of you, to hear who you are, and Lee can get the introduction as well. I'll talk about really important syllabus information, which is basically how do you get your grade? How are you going to earn your grade, right? That's what you all want to know. Our course goals as a group, and then we'll go ahead and start the first chapter. I also have homework, a variety of homework things due this week, and I already posted that on Canvas, so you can go on Canvas and see exactly what's due. So who am I? First of all, I'm very excited to facilitate your study of algebra. I love this course. I think mat150 has a lot of really good material. It's conceptually interesting, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I've always been a math geek. Maybe that's obvious that I'm geeky, but I do love math. I studied math in college as well as communication. I earned my master's in education so I can teach high school. Now I'm here teaching college, and I'm also earning my master's in mathematics. So get this, I'm in a math class right now. You're in a math class right now. I'm in a math class, you're in a math class. This is really exciting. We're all in the same boat. We're all in this situation where we're in a math class learning material that we haven't necessarily seen before. We're all going to encounter challenge and struggle, and we're all going to experience breakthroughs together. Okay, whoops, where did I go? So yeah, there we go. I believe you can all master this course, especially if you ask questions. That's really important. This is such a small group. There's no reason why each of you can't ask at least 1 question every hour. At least 1 question every hour. Just for fun, one of you ask a question right now. I don't care what it is. Yes, Gabriel. Oh man, I wish there was. I tell you what, at break time, I'll call building maintenance and ask them to turn, because it's hot in here, right? Yeah. It's really hot. I agree. Thank you, Gabriel. Emily? What's your favorite color? My favorite color is probably blue. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. So now just the rest of you, just 1 more question per hour, and we'll all be good. Lee, you can also, minimum 1 question per hour. Folks, that's the rule. This is Fight Club. 1 question per hour. All right? Okay. So my commitment to you is I'm very communicative, so I'm going to make Canvas announcements. I'm going to send emails. I'll keep the gradebook up to date. I really hope you're all checking your gateway email at least once a day. Do you all check your gateway email at least once a day? I really hope so. I hope that you have your gateway email forwarded to your personal email so that you're no matter what getting it every single day. Okay, I'm available before class, after class. I have office hours right before this. So for the previous hour and a half, I was just sitting in my office. Just waiting for people, right? I have office hours upstairs throughout the week. I'm always available via email. Okay, so every day, all day long, I'll check my email and I can reply to you normally within an hour. Once you email me after midnight, I'm asleep. but then I'll email you first thing in the morning. Okay, so now all of you get to introduce yourselves. So please tell me your preferred first name and help me pronounce it correctly. And then what's your primary study here at Gateway? What are you hoping to achieve by attending Gateway? So we'd like to get it started. Go for it.
Okay, my name is Valeria.
Valeria. Hi, Valeria.
Hello. My primary study will be, I want to get my associates in science. So,
Oh, great. Associates in Science. Any particular focus?
I'm a PA.
Oh, PA. Is that physician's assistant? Is that for any age group in particular?
No.
Okay, so
Not yet.
not yet. Okay, very cool. All right. Valeria, physician's assistant. That's great.
My name is Nadine.
Hi, Nadine.
And then my primary study is nursing.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I'm going to the
The RN program. And now how about you? Is that a particular age group or just all people? Okay, great. Not old people.
Oh.
I meant all
yeah.
people. Gotcha. All right, thank you, Nadine.
Hi, my name is Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi. And my primary study I do so it is not program, against it's another program.
What is it?
Sonography.
Oh, sonography. Okay, and that's ultrasound.
Ultrasound.
Okay, great. Sonography, ultrasound. Wonderful. Thank you, Emily.
My name is Gabriel.
Hi, Gabriel. Gabe.
I'm focusing on strength.
Okay.
So after this semester, hopefully I'll have my associates and then I'll get it. So, I want to be able to work with athletes, and I do like sports massage therapy right now.
Okay, cool.
Just add on to that and like work with athletes.
Nice. Now, you said strength training and what?
Strength and conditioning coaching.
Strength and conditioning coaching. Does that fall under kinesiology?
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit.
And the crazy thing is, there's so many different routes that you can take to do certain things in like the sports, I guess, aspect of it.
Gotcha.
So it's just one tool.
Cool, Gabe. Now I'm going to put you on the spot, Gabe. I'm trying to build muscle. What's the number one way I can do it? Like, what's the best routine? What should I do?
You got to eat a lot. You got to, like, I would say, functional weight training.
Like lifting weights?
So, well, it depends on what, if you're doing like specific sport or if you're doing like specific things to incorporate it.
I don't play any sports at all, but I love running and hiking.
Okay, so that would be more legs, but yeah, it will be a little bit more like heavyweight training.
Okay.
To increase strength.
Okay, sweet. I'll hit you up for more tips throughout the semester. And if I need any ultrasounds or anything, I'll put you in. Okay, wonderful. Yes, sir.
My name is Omar.
Hi, Omar.
I'm here making up grades before I go back to ASU semester.
And what are you studying?
Mechanical engineering.
Oh, mechanical engineering. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Omar.
I'm also doing mechanical engineering, but I'm also doing industrial design.
Okay, wonderful. And your name? Hector. All right, Hector, Omar, Gabe, Emily, Valeria, and Nadine. And?
I'm Lee. Well, that's my real name, but that's what you can call me. For primary study at Gateway, I am looking at secondary education in mathematics. That's not going to be one step. I'll eventually become what you are today.
Okay, wonderful.
That's my goal.
So Lee, if you've seen him around, he's very avid or very active in the math club on campus and just very active in general, participating in all the programs at Gateway. But yeah, definitely a fellow math geek. All right, I say that the best way.
I love math jokes.
Yeah.
And I'm the VP of the math club. So.
Hey, excellent. All right. Oh, you're the VP of the math club?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, so now that you know each other's names, I'd like you to form groups of, well, gosh, I mean, there's 6 of us, so we might as well just do 2 groups of 3. That's not a ton, but so you 3 in the back, and then you 3 maybe. And within your groups, what I'd like you to do is talk to each other, and each person will share one thing that makes learning math easier, one thing that makes learning math harder. Say your name again, of course, so your group knows your name. And then at the end of a couple minutes, I'm going to call on each group, and just one person from that group will share a couple main ideas for each of them. So make sure your group chooses a representative. Okay, so go ahead and talk amongst your group for at least three minutes. What?
It's okay, thank
Oh yeah, in fact, here I can try to call Bowman Maintenance right now about that car. Yes, so proud of it.
What makes learning math?
This is engineering for math engineers, coding, versus course, and take some workforce and see where you have built it over.
But then I go by.
Yeah, why is it so warm? Facilities AC. Okay, I think this is the number. Oh, the number. Oh, the number for facilities. There, I have to check it. And also, or maybe on the air. Okay, great. Yes, that's right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
I guess the
Vocabulary, yeah. You know it. Harder.
Just need to step to then move on to the next. What do you want?
Okay, so
What would they? What would they? A lot of food, a lot of core, a lot of a lot of it would just be like.
And I so, so then that's it for like 6 months of my something. So I did take this off that and then
Well, I just.
I don't know.
All right, folks. Let's wrap up your conversations. Okay. So part of that was also just to get you all to talk to each other. That way you'll continue talking to each other for the rest of the semester, but also to actually share these ideas. So let's just brainstorm together. I'm going to put it over here so it's kind of out of the way. What were some of the ideas you shared that make math easier and what makes math harder? I'm going to start with Elise, a volunteer from each group. So who's a volunteer from this group who'd like to share? Yes, Omar.
For the easier portion, you said that going over it, like a hands-on example.
Oh, okay. So on the one hand, kind of review, but also a concrete example. Yeah, examples are so helpful. Oh my goodness, when I read a math book and there are no examples to go along with the general theory, I really get lost. So concrete examples really help. And then what makes it harder, Omar?
Just getting the steps and then moving on.
So need to know the steps, like really concretely. Like what are the steps? Let me write them down and number them.
Well, not necessarily, but just like giving the information and then being told to do the work without giving an example.
Oh, okay. So maybe application on your own.
Yeah.
Trying it on your own. Okay, yeah, absolutely. That lead to trying it on your own can be tricky. Trying it on your own. And so the good news here in this class is, on the one hand, when you go to try it on your own, doing your homework, first of all, you can email me and I'll help you. Second of all, we're doing our homework on an online website where you can post your question to a forum. And in that forum, all of you can see the question, and then any one of you can respond to each other, or all respond to you. You can also go see Lee before or after class. You can see me in office hours, or again, just email me. And that way, when you go to actually try it, I totally get it. Like you're in class, you're like, this all makes sense, and then you get home and you're like, what? So just reach out to me. I really will email at any time of day. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Omar. How about this group? Something that makes it easier?
videos.
Oh, watching the videos?
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. And this class, you're very lucky. Not only can you watch this class again, because I'm recording it, but you can also go online to the website where we're going to do our homework, and it has videos explaining all the concepts. Not just, like this is so exciting, I have to show you. I'm going to get to this in the normal course of time, but so you Google the website MORE, M-O-E-R, and then it's the very first link, M-O-E-R. So this is the website, it's called Maricopa Open Education Resources. We'll just call it MORE, that's where your homework is. So when you go to log in, let me log in real quick. So when you go there, Oh no. Okay, here we go. So our class right here is called Math 150/120. And then I'm just going to go right into section 1. So this is the first thing we're doing, and I'm going to go down to assignment number 1. So this is your first assignment right here, and you click on question 1. Well, first of all, if you're not sure how to answer it, there's a button right here that says video. And so immediately, every single homework problem that you're assigned to do, there's a video, and you just click on it, and you can watch the video. And it'll walk you through a problem just like it. So that's in addition to the fact that you were in class, you saw me talk about it. Not only that, but that's just the assignment. There's also a video assignment component where you just click on where all the videos are. And this is just literally a short list of videos that are going to explain all the material from the chapter. So the first thing you would do before coming to class every day is come into here and watch these videos. They're about 5 to 8 minutes long each. You can expect to spend about, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes watching the videos. You don't necessarily have to watch all the way through. You can click play and then kind of scroll through and see how you feel about it. Maybe it's reviewed to you and it's pretty easy and you can just click on through. And then you click, I've completed this section, and you hit submit, and then you get points for it. Okay, so first of all, there are videos that walk you through all the material. And then when you actually do the homework, there's a video help button that shows you how to do it, let alone the video of our class. So thank you, Valeria. Yes, there are lots of videos that you can watch on your own time to help clarify those questions for you. Okay, Valeria, that's something that makes math harder?
Not knowing the language.
Ah, like vocabulary?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that's a huge component of our lesson today. The two main things we're learning today, it's all vocabulary. It's all becoming familiar with how mathematicians speak to each other. So it's not even necessarily like solving for X. Like solving for X is a big thing that we're going to do. Today we're mostly talking about vocabulary and how we communicate, and that can be tricky at first. So for sure, vocabulary is a tricky one. Okay, well, that was the two representatives. Lee, put you on the spot. What makes learning math easier?
Be able to relate it to life.
Great. Relate to life. And then what makes life harder? Or life harder. What makes math harder?
Not coming to class.
Oh yeah, not coming to class. So yeah, not attending. Yeah, that does make it very tricky. Not attending in person and or in spirit, like if your mind is somewhere else or if you're on your phone or something like that, distracted. That does make it tricky. But again, the fact that we're recording the class, if you miss something, you can always watch it again and fill in that gap for you. Okay, well, thank you very much, folks. These are all great ideas. At the end of every semester, I do an online course evaluation, and I ask the question, if I could time travel back to the beginning of the course, what would I do differently? So these are the top answers. First is ask more questions when I need help. So again, you have me, you have Lee, you have email, and you can just go to the Learning Center and talk to any of the tutors there. So there's a lot of times to ask questions. Me in my office, you can, oh yeah, go to Mr. G's office hours. I'm always, I'm available up there quite frequently. Don't use your phone in class, and then the biggie is reading the textbook and watching the videos. So again, I'm just going to show you real quickly this website, this More website, which is where it's free access to a textbook. So first of all, there's the textbook link right there. Your whole textbook is available as a PDF. It's totally free to you. And then all the videos that you can watch right here. And I think I'm going to say this again in a second, but it's so important that before you come to class, you read the textbook, at least skim through it to see what we're going to be talking about, and then watch the videos before you come to class. Okay, so yeah, that's feedback from all the other students. Your first assignment, based on this, is actually extra credit. You don't have to write this down because I posted it on Canvas. Your first extra credit assignment is to simply email me at my actual email address, not through Canvas, but my actual email address. Subject line, mat150/120, put your full name, and then in the body, tell me what makes math easier for you, what makes math harder for you, and then tell me any of your favorite jokes. Preferably a short joke, like I like one-liners, but it definitely has to be clean. Like every once in a while, someone sends me an inappropriate joke, and I'm like, this is awkward. Please don't tell me these kind of jokes. Just make sure it's a clean joke, like for a third grader. That would be ideal. Okay.
Have you seen third grade jokes?
What's that?
Have you seen third grade jokes recently?
No.
Okay. Very good.
Oh, are they appropriate? Oh, they're inappropriate. Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. That was just a total accident that I said third grade. What I meant was for children. Children's jokes are ideal. Okay, wonderful. I think that's all I have to say about that. Yeah, so that's an extra credit assignment for you right up top. Okay, everyone take a look at your syllabus. You picked up a syllabus as you walked into class. Of course, you're going to read through that whole thing on your own. I'm just going to highlight some main ideas. First of all, my office hours are right there, so you come up to office hours. I just posted today an announcement with Lee's office hours, so you'll know when he's in the Learning Center. Note, you do need a graphing calculator for this class. A graphing calculator can be any graphing calculator you like, but if you don't already own one, I highly recommend the TI-82. I've been using a TI-82 since I've been alive. And I've never gotten a fancy TI-83, TI-84, TI-89. Those are all fine calculators, but I've never needed anything more than a TI-82. And the best part about it is that it's dirt cheap. So you can go online to Amazon, get yourself a TI-82 for about 15 bucks with shipping, and that calculator will last you the rest of your life, and you can give it to your children when you're done with it. Not that you'll ever be done with it, but you could give it to your children. Like I said, I've had my same TI-82s for 30 years. I'm very old. Okay, so I would do that as soon as possible, like today, because I'm telling all my students to buy TI-82s from Amazon, and once all these inexpensive ones are bought up, the price will go up. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you're totally fine. Let me see that, Nadine. Thanks. A TI-83 is fine. A TI-84 is fine. Any sort of graphing calculator you already have is fine. I'm just saying that if you don't already have a graphing calculator, this is the best way to get into one for very little money, and it'll last you forever. Lee, what kind do you have?
I have what is called an Inspired.
Oh, a TI Inspired. Is that like an 89 or a 90 something?
That's something like that.
Oh, it's very fancy. It's very fancy. Yeah.
People call it like a computer.
I see. And for sure, his calculator will do more than mine. But a TI-82 will do everything you need for this class. Okay, so you need to get a calculator. Next, you need that online access to the MORE website. So again, if you just go to Google and type in MOER, it's the very first link that you see. You go there. I've got your information here to register with this course ID and enrollment fee Pythagoras. You can enroll as a student. And then the main idea is, and I really can't stress this enough, that before you come to class, you read through the textbook and watch the videos. Then you come to class and you participate in everything we do. And then you go home and you try the homework. And I just want you to know, like I said, I'm in a math class right now. And I want you to know how I take a math class. When I take a math class, I would never dream of going to lecture before I've already read the textbook. Because if I go to lecture and I haven't read the textbook, I'm basically just confused the whole time. Like, what? Where is he getting this? So what I do is, first I take out my textbook before class. And I just kind of turn the pages, and I look. And I'm like, okay, well, so this is what we're talking about. I don't understand all the details, but okay, I kind of see the idea of what we're doing in this chapter. Then I go back and I read it again, and this time I take notes. So I take very thorough notes. I copy all the example problems. I copy all the definitions. So now I go to class. I've already read the textbook twice. Now I'm in class. I'm seeing everything the teacher's saying, and the best part is now it's familiar. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I know why he'd be saying that. I kind of saw that in class. Now this is my second pass. And what I'm telling you is that that's the best technique, is that when you hear it from the teacher, it should be the second time you're hearing it, not the first time you're hearing it. Because then, then you're confused in class, as opposed to already feeling a little comfortable. So I really encourage you that before you come to class, you scan through the textbook. Again, if you don't understand everything, that's fine. It's just important that you at least look at it. And then watch all the videos and then come to class. And then you'll feel a lot more confident. Lee?
If you guys are unsure about how to read a textbook, if you go to the Learning Center, a lot of students will show you how to read the textbook.
Yeah, very important skill. Because as you know, in the future, education is online and education is self-paced. So the learning how to read a textbook on your own is really, really helpful. Okay, so let's see here. Syllabus. This is how you get your grade. So I will give us note packets, and that's what we fill out in class. And then I'll give you a practice test before every test. So I think that's really helpful. I'm literally giving you a practice test that looks like the real test that you're going to take before you come to class. I even post the solution key for that, so that by the time you take the test, you already know very well what to expect. The video assignments means you're going to watch the videos before you come to class and check mark what you did. The practice assignments on MORE, that's the homework you do after you come to class. And then we have a test and we have a final exam. Sorry, 4 tests and a final exam. So that's how you get your grade. What else? You do need a 70% or higher to pass the course and get credit. If you get below a 70% in the class, you won't get credit for the course and you'll have to take the course again. I don't want that to happen to anyone. I want you all to pass the course. So first of all, I want you to know that I only round up your grade if you've turned in all of your assignments and all of your extra credit opportunities. So maybe this has happened to you, that you finished a class with like an 89.5, and you're like, oh man, I hope my instructor rounds that up to an A. Well, I'm telling you right up front, I will round up, but only if you have turned in absolutely every single assignment that I've ever given you. It doesn't mean you have to get a perfect score on all of them. You just have to have at least done them. Because if you have incomplete assignments, the things you never turned in, I'm not going to round up your grade. Okay, so that's the deal. I'll round up but only if you've turned everything in. Okay, I'm not going to read all that because you can read it yourself, but I do want to talk about tardiness and attendance. So this sign-in sheet that you all just filled in, again, you have an on-time sign-in and then a late sign-in. Awesome, nobody's in the late column. This is really nice. So if you sign in late, basically you get 2 free late. You get 2 free tardies in the course of the semester. So if you're late twice, that's fine. But the third time you're late, I take 5 points off your final exam. The next time you're late, I take another 5 points off your final exam. And every time you're late, I just keep on taking 5 points off your final exam. So that might sound harsh, but I really wanted to make sure that we're all here on time. Same thing for absences. Okay, you get 2 free absences. So if you're absent once or twice, that's fine. Everybody, that's going to happen. You know, life happens, your car breaks down, you got to pick someone up, and you can't be here. That's fine. But your third absence, I take 5 points off your final exam. Your fourth absence, I take 5 points off your final exam. So tardies and absences, you get 2 freebies each, and then after that, I start taking points off your final exam. I don't do that to be mean to you. It's just I really want to make sure that you're encouraged and motivated to be here on time and in class. On the flip side, if you have no tardies, I give you 5 bonus points on your final exam. If you have no absences, I give you 5 bonus points on your final exam. So you can also get extra credit. Okay, so that's how attendance works. Office hours. I do require office hours, and this might be new for you. I don't know if you've ever had a teacher who requires you to come up to their office. Only once do I require you. I'm just going to read it to you. So before the day of the first exam, which is in February, so you have some time, you must come visit my office for like a 5-minute chat. Literally, it just takes 5 minutes. We will review the notes you're taking in class as well as review your online homework. This requirement counts as 50% of your first exam grade. So, i.e., if you do not come in, I will take 50% off whatever you grade that you earn on the test. So this is basically a big, terrible threat. I'm basically saying, come in at least once in my office hours, and then everything's fine. If you don't come into my office hours, then whatever you get on your exam, like let's say you got a 90, I'll take 50% off and you get a 45. Now the good news is I've never done that to anyone in my life because everybody comes into my office hours. And that's all I want. I just want to make sure you know where my office is. I want you to know when I'm there. And then basically if you come once, you're more likely to come again. And that's what's so important is that we have open communication. Okay, so that's the first requirement. All of you must do it. Second, after each test, if you score below a 70, then I will record your grade in the grade book as a 0 temporarily to get your attention. And you need to come into my office to review your quiz or test with me. Expect that office visit to last a little longer, more like 30 minutes, because we're going to go through your test, question by question by question, and make sure you understand how to do it. By the end of that visit, you should look at the test and say, oh, that's how you do those problems. Such that if I gave you the test again, you would pass. I'm not going to give you the test again, but if I did, you would be able to pass, right? Okay, and then once you've reviewed your test with me, then I'll take out the 0 and I'll put in the grade that you actually earned. Okay, so just a quick question, at least 2 or 3 of you reply. Why do I require office hours? Yes, Omar?
To make sure you're like being active towards your grade.
Yeah, that's right. I want you to be actively pursuing passing this class and helping you raise your grade. Yeah, and understand the material. Very good. One more. Yes, you're comfortable asking questions, so you know that I'm not a mean, guy, and Lee's not a mean guy, and you can come talk to us. Hector?
You have that choice, or you slash 50% off of our first exam.
Well, that's true. You have no choice. Why? You have no choice. That's true. You have no choice. But here's the reason why I require office hours. I care about you. Each and every one of you. I want you to pass this class. I want you to get your degree. I want you to move on to your career field. That's what we're here for, folks. I mean, there is no option not to pass, right? I'm taking away that option from you. You're here today. I want you to pass the class. Okay. Okay. Required online communication. This is due this week. Just do it anytime this week by the weekend. 1, send me that email. So send me the email, what makes math easier, harder, and a joke. 2, I want you to go into the Moore system, and I'll show you how to do this. And I want you to see the 2 options you have for communicating with the class and with me. So check this out. Once you log into Moore, and you go, I'll just go to our first assignment, assignment 1.1. And here are the problems. There we go. So you have problems 1 through 18. 18, I don't know if that sounds like a lot or a little, but the questions are pretty short. So let's say you get to a question. Here I am on question 1, and let's say you're like, oh, geez, I don't know how to do it, right? You're blanking. So first of all, you can watch the video, right? So you click on the video, you watch the video, then you're like, oh, okay, great, now I can do it. Or right here, you can click message instructor about this question. And this is brilliant. You click on it, it sends me the actual question you were just looking at, and then you can say, hi, Mr. G, I said the answer is integer, but it says I'm wrong. Please help. Now the key is you have to actually tell me what you put as an answer and why. Don't just say help, because then I'm like, well, I don't know what you know or don't know, right? So give me a little indication of where you went wrong, or what you think the answer is, and then I can reply right back. I'll email you the same day. So that's one great thing right there, is any homework question you can send to me. Second, you can also click post this question to the forum. Now this is even cooler. You click on that, and it posts that question to the whole class. So then you can say, hey everyone, I really think the answer is irrational, but it keeps saying I'm wrong. Is anyone else having this problem? Because who knows, maybe there's a problem in the system. Maybe there really is an error. So then I'll check the forums, and if you all check the forums, we can help each other, and I'll help you no matter what. So like if you post a question in the forum, if nobody answers it within a few hours or the day, I'll always reply to it too. But the rest of you can chime in. Okay, so those are the two different ways that you can communicate through the More system. And that's part of your first assignment, is sometime this week, by the weekend, now that you've seen it. Number two, within the More system, choose a problem from the first homework assignment, click message the instructor, and either ask me a question or just say hi. And then number three, within the More system, choose a problem, click post this question forum, and either ask a question about it or just say hi. Either way, when you do all that, I'll start entering grades into your gradebook. Until I get all three of those from you, I will only enter zeros into your gradebook. Again, just as a little, friendly reminder, hey, you need to go do those other things.
So you have to choose two different problems?
No, it can be even the same question. Honestly, I don't even care what question it is. I just want you to click message instructor and then click post question form. And then answer. The more. What are these slides?
Yeah.
I've never posted my, but I have this posted on Canvas. Yeah, this right here I have on Canvas, and in fact I'll email it to you as soon as class is over to remind you what your homework is for the week. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Any other question? Yes, Hector.
Is showing work optional?
No, definitely not. I have a whole slide on that. Showing your work is how you get full credit. If you don't show your work, you don't get full credit. Yeah. Okay, so there's a syllabus quiz. So everyone, you should have a syllabus quiz already. Fill that out, bring it back by Wednesday. We'll also review, we will review answers on Wednesday. Now you'll notice I made this very easy for you. I even told you the page number of where to look. So like these questions, my grade, that's on pages 2 and 3. These questions on attendance, that's on page 3. And these questions on required office hours, that's on page 3. So you know exactly where to look in your syllabus to find the answers. These are kind of like the big policies that really affect you in this class so that we all know what's going on and you won't be surprised later on like, oh no, why did I lose all that credit for that? Okay, again, zeros in the gradebook until I get this. So just bring it on Wednesday and then you're fine. Okay, look all the way on the last page of your syllabus. Kind of the thicker packet there, the syllabus. There's your calendar. I would tear this off your syllabus and hang it up in your kitchen, on your fridge, or in your bathroom, or above your bed, somewhere, maybe by your computer, so you'll know all of our due dates. You'll see these are all of our course days. This tells us what you're going to do in class that day. It tells you about the days we don't have school, like spring break and such. And then on the right-hand side, these due dates are for the More system, the online More system. So those are your due dates for the online More system, whereas this is just telling you what sections we're covering each day. And then anything that's made of paper is due on the day of the test. So the practice test is due on the day of the test. Your note packet here is due on the day of the test. So anything that's made of paper is due on test day. I collect it from you and then you take your test. Anything that's online is due according to these dates right here. Questions? Okay, I'm really digging all the questions, folks. You're doing great. I'm really glad that you're raising your hands and asking questions. Okay, so that's your calendar. The final exam is, you'll notice this last week of school is just the final exams week. You don't actually have classes that week. So we won't meet on Monday, but we do meet on Wednesday, and that's the day of your final exam. Everyone really circle that and make sure you know that, because I think in one of the online versions of the syllabus, I accidentally posted it on Monday, but it's actually on Wednesday. So your final exam is on Wednesday. It'll be right here, same time that we normally meet. Actually, no, it's not the exact same time we normally meet. I think it's like 12. But when we get closer to the final exam day, I'll tell you. Okay, so there's your calendar. Overview of course material. We won't read through all that. I just want you to know that the tests are 2 chapters at a time. So we'll study chapter 1 and 2 and then a test. Chapter 3 and 4 and then a test. Chapter 5 and 6 and then a test. Chapter 8 and 9 and then a test. Yeah, so 2 chapters per test. Emily.
So is it May 9th or is it May 6th the final exam? Or here's it 6th?
Do I have those dates
This
wrong?
is May.
On the hard copy, it's May 6th.
Oh, yeah, that's 6 and 8. Yeah, that's an 8. That should be an 8, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that should be an 8. Thank you, Emily. That should be May 8th. Thank you so much. All right. So, if you need help at any point, see me before or after class, see Lee before or after class, come to my office hours, go to the Learning Center, email me directly, watch class again, because I'm recording it right now, and definitely read the textbook and watch the videos. Okay.
The textbook is online, right?
The textbook is online. Now, thank you, Nadine. Let me just show you also the More website. Definitely you'll want to go there today and start playing around and getting familiar with it. But also, when you go to Canvas, which I just naturally assume that you all go to Canvas like every day, just to click on it and say, hi, Canvas, how you doing? So let me go in there and show you our page, because I definitely want you to go to our page and look around, because I posted a lot of good information for you in there. So here's our course. Now notice, the course name is just Math 150. Our section number is 35307, but we're Math 150, even though I'm calling it Math 150 120, because we're different from all the other Math 150 classes. So right here, this is our home page for Math 150 120. I give you the syllabus right up front. I give you the textbook right up front, so there, Nadine, is the textbook. And I also give you the website to More. I tell you how to register. So that's all just on the very first home page. If you click on announcements, I have already some announcements there that I want you to go read, all of those. You'll notice I have one called Tutoring with Lee during and after class, so that gives his hours. I also have my contact information, office hours, my schedule, takeaways from day 1. That's all of the homework that you have from today. And then you can click on assignments. There's just an assignment list to show you all the things that are worth points that you'll turn in over the course of the semester. What else? Just today, I started doing this for the first time in my life ever. I created a module for you in which I put all the documents that I gave you for chapter 1, just in case you want an electronic copy. Maybe you want to print it out again and write on it again. Who knows? But these are all of the electronic versions of all the information that I just gave you, including Lee's schedule, the syllabus quiz, the student information sheet, the syllabus, and select solutions. So like if you click on chapter 1, select solutions, these are actually some of the solutions to the notes packet that you're going to fill out. Not all of the solutions are available that way, but some of the solutions are. So that's kind of nice. Okay, so that's Canvas, and that's where you can download your textbook. Within More, you can also download your textbook. It's the very first thing on the website when you look. Textbook. What, Emily?
Everything's free? Everything's free?
Yeah, everything's free. Yeah, not in life, just in this class. Yeah, just in this class, everything's free. Yep, all right. All right, back we go. Super. Okay, now I want to talk to you on a more philosophical level. Okay, all that's very concrete. This is philosophy here, okay? I want to talk to you about what our course goals are. This is the course goals as I see them. Your course goal might be just pass, right? But these are my course goals. One, the mathematical content, of course. We're going to learn a lot of content that's math, right? You're in a math class, we're going to learn math, that's obvious. But I want you to know that learning math is a metaphor for the overall challenge of learning anything difficult, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're in a computer class or an English class or a poetry class or an engineering course, you're bound to learn things that are tricky. And the real question is, how do you learn things that are tricky? You know, because sometimes it's tricky and you go up against it, you're like, oh, this is really hard, I don't understand it. I need to go get a snack, right? So how do you push and process through a situation like that? Yeah, practice, asking people for help, asking your teacher questions, asking tutors questions, reading the textbook, and so on. 2, this course is about computer skills because you're going to be using the More website, M-O-E-R, the More website. When you first log on to the More website, it might feel a little confusing, a little disorienting. You're like, oh man, where do I go for everything? Here's the forum, here's the chapter assignment, here's the videos. You have to click around and spend a little time there until finally you're like, okay, yeah, I know my way around. Right? Because again, this is a metaphor. You will need to learn so many computer systems in the course of your life. You know, every job that you get, they're going to be like, okay, now you have to go use this computer system. And at first, it's going to be very confusing, but you have to push through that until you're familiar with it, and then you're very comfortable, right? Almost anything, when you first experience it, it's going to be confusing and uncomfortable, and you want to go take a nap. Right? But you got to push through that. Okay, finally, introspection and self-discovery about struggle. I don't mean to imply that this whole class is going to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be a struggle. The point is to use this as an opportunity to self-introspect about the experience of struggle. What do you tend to do when you're struggling? Do you shut down? Do you eat a snack? Do you take a nap? Or do you reach out to your teacher? Do you post questions on the forum? Do you go to the Learning Center? Obviously, I hope that we're all focusing on the productive way of dealing with struggle. Because, I mean, just so you know, your whole life, parts of it are going to be a struggle. And so how do you push through that? Again, this whole course is just a metaphor for that. What do you do when you're encountering something that's new and confusing, and how do you master it? Okay, so that's the kind of the big picture. Next, I have this idea of my invisible syllabus, right? So you have your syllabus. This is the actual syllabus of what you're learning in this math course at Gateway. But the invisible syllabus is kind of like the intangible things and skills that you'll walk away with in this course that I can't put a grade on. And the first one is, Hector, you will be able to show your work for all problems. So I'd just like to ask you, very importantly, who are you showing your work for? Okay, one answer from Gabriel is you. You're showing your work for you. Hector, you might say, preferably no one. Right? Hopefully I don't have to show my work for anyone. But who are you showing your work for? That's true. I mean, me, I'm a big one because I'm giving you a grade or not. Yeah, Emily?
To illustrate it to someone else?
Yeah, very good. To illustrate for someone else, Nadine.
So it can help you in the future.
So it can help you in the future. You can go back and look at your notes and see how you solve the problem. Okay, all of these are great answers. Omar, did you want to say? Did it covers it? Lee? Yeah, I mean, that's the big one. My answer that I'll always give and that I hope that you say back to me during class, who are you showing your work for? Your audience. Okay, and you have lots of audiences. Your own brain is your audience, so you can follow your work and know what you're doing. I'm your audience because I'm giving you a grade. But more importantly, all of you are going to be leaders of people in your life. You're going to be a manager. You're going to have employees who work for you. And you're going to be responsible for teaching them skills. So who are you showing your work for? Your whole audience of people who are relying on you to learn their skill to do their job right. So you have an audience all the time. And that's who you're showing your work for is your audience. So if in class I say, who are you showing your work for? Your audience. You're showing it for your audience because your audience consists of people who don't know as much as you. Your audience consists of people who are learning from you. So if you don't show any work at all and you just write down the answer, they just learn nothing from you. And your employees are going to really struggle. Whereas if you show all of your work, your employees are going to say, man, I have a great boss. I totally understand what he, she expects of me. I can do this job, right? So we show our work for our audience. So that's one big thing. Answers unsupported by work do not earn points. So if you don't show any work, I won't give you any points. But if you show work, then I give you all the points. Okay, that's point one of the invisible syllabus. 2, the beginning of every problem is to simply understand what the problem is asking and to draw a good picture. So oftentimes in a math class, you read a question and you read it and you're like, I have no idea what to do. Right? Has anyone had that experience? You read a math question and you're like, I have no idea how to even begin. What do I even do? You what?
You just stare.
Yeah, you stare at it, you go into brain coma, you're not sure what to do. Well, I'm going to tell you always, the very beginning is just to know what the actual question is. You know, identify the question. What on earth are they asking? Where's the question mark? And really focus on that. But then you can always start by drawing a picture. And we're going to do that over and over and over in this class, is we'll begin a problem by drawing a picture. Because pictures are so helpful. So that's the invisible syllabus, is you're showing your work for your audience, and you can always begin a problem. Most importantly, you never leave anything blank. Like on a test, you're not even allowed to leave a problem blank. If you come up to me at the end of a test and you give me the test, I'll flip through it and look for any blanks. If it's blank, I'll show it right back to you and I'll tell you to go back and sit down and put something down on that blank problem. Okay? So, very important, you can always begin every problem. Again, that's a metaphor for life. You have to do something. You can always begin. You might not get the right answer. You might not even be able to do the whole problem, but you can at least begin. Okay, then I have the invisibler syllabus. Okay, even below that is this idea that I really admire you. I really do. I mean, look at us. It's Monday, and it's lunchtime. And what are you doing? You're in a math class. That takes a big commitment on your part. So I really admire you, and I'm going to encourage you all semester long that this is worth it, that you're going to make it, and you're going to pass. The invisiblest syllabus. Okay, so underneath all that is I want you to walk away from this class thinking, I can learn this, I can master this, like really well. I can teach this to somebody else, remember your audience. And I can use these skills to solve new problems that I won't just leave blank, I'll at least begin. And I can go out and learn anything I need to learn in order to achieve any goal I have in mind, right? In this course, I teach optimism. You can learn anything. That's just my belief. I believe anyone can learn anything, I really do. Okie dokie, so your homework, I posted this on Canvas. Fill out your student info sheet, your syllabus quiz, log on to Canvas and just browse around, log on to more, browse around, and then for the extra credit, you have to email me. All of this is on Canvas, you don't have to write it down. Okay, what questions do you have? Because I think we're ready to start math, the mathy part.
I was gonna say, would it have been smart to like read through the stuff before this class?
You would not have really known to do that. I mean, I opened the Canvas course a couple days ago, but you're gonna be fine. You'll just dive in today, but then going forward, when you look at the calendar, like before you come to class on Wednesday, at least browse through the textbook. Again, if you don't understand everything, fine. If you don't read it word for word, fine, but at least browse. Read through, watch the videos. The videos are something you can do very conveniently anytime. If you're sitting at home and you want to work out, run on the treadmill, whatever, just have the videos playing and you can listen. Watch the videos while you're cooking. Watch the videos while you're sitting and otherwise doing something that you're just bored with, right? So at least get that information into your brain a little bit before you come to class. Did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, Omar.
So if we're like showing the work, what if there's like word pump, but we don't know how to show the work?
That's one of the skills we're going to look at all semester long is simply how do you take a problem, a word problem, and how do you at least turn it into a picture of something that you could use to then solve the problem.
Also, it can be a picture.
Oh, yeah, it can be a picture. Yeah, but I'll role model it over and over and over with all the problems we do. This is how you show your work. This is how you draw a picture.
So if it's like the can you show like the little like triangle and then the answer, that'll count, or you have to show like the actual?
Omar, I like your question. Here's the answer to your question. If what your goal is, again, who are you showing your work for?
Yeah.
Your audience. So you need to show work such that somebody else could look at your solution and say, oh, okay, I see how Omar did that. So if somebody else who's uninitiated in math, maybe younger than you, maybe knows less about math than you, if they can look at your work and say, oh, okay, I get it, I see what he did, then you're good, right? But if you just draw a triangle and write a number next to it, somebody else might be like, how did they do that? And so that's the key difference between showing your work and not showing your work is, can your audience understand it? So long as you're always thinking about your audience, you'll know how much work to show. Yeah. Which, really, what am I talking about? I'm talking about nothing less than good communication. This is good communication. Whether you're a newscaster on TV, whether you're a politician, whether you're a manager, good communication allows your audience to understand what you're talking about. Okay, so here we are. This is the screen I'll normally show you at the beginning of every class period. I will show you at the beginning of every class period. So we know right where we are, what we're studying, what we're doing. Please notice the due dates over here. The online assignments are always due weekly, and everything is due, so the online assignments are due weekly, meaning whatever we cover this week, those sections are due the Monday after we did it. And whatever we do this week, those sections are due the Monday after we did it. So whatever we do this week, it's all due online by the Monday following. Yep. And then everything paper is due on the day of the test. There we go. So this is our slide for today. This is where we are. We're going to do section 1.1 today. Actually, we're doing section 1.0 and 1.1. We'll do as much as we can. If we don't finish it all today, no problem. It rolls over to the next class period a little bit. And if it ever rolls too far, I'll adjust the due dates. But we basically just work through at a comfortable pace and we get it done. I'm going to do the notes with you, and we'll also look at more to see how to do your homework. Finally, and probably most importantly, every class period I tell one joke before we begin the mathy part. So this is my joke for Monday, this is my joke for Wednesday. That way right before you begin the mathiness, you've got a joke to make you smile and laugh. Now these jokes are dad jokes, they're cheesy, but I love them. So here's your first one. What did the pirate say when he turned 80? Now, if you know the answer, don't blurt it out. What did the pirate say when he turned 80?
What did he say?
Aye, matey. I'm 80. I'm 80. There you go. Nice little play of words. It's a great joke. Tell your friends. All right, so here we go, folks. Let's all turn to the chapter 1 notes. we're going to very quickly look at this. Now this assignment right here, 1.0, this is one of the extra assignments that was built into this class. So this isn't in a normal Math 150 course, but it's in this Math 150/120 course. And the reason it's here is just to make sure that everybody feels very comfortable with PEMDAS, right? PEMDAS. So all the way up at the top there, go ahead and fill in your name under mathematician. You're the mathematician. And let's go ahead and just write down PEMDAS and remind ourselves what that means. PEMDAS. What does PEMDAS mean? Parentheses is the first one, Nadine. Thank you, Emily.
Is it exponent?
Exponents, very good. Omer. Multiplication, and then Hector. Division, very good. And then Gabe, addition and validity subtraction. Okay, so that's everything. So we're just going to go ahead and jot down here parentheses, exponents. Boy, it's hard to write down. Maybe I'll write it sideways. Then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. Now, one of the big things that needs to be clarified is that the MD, in what order do you do multiplication division? Do you do the multiplication first and then the division? Or do you do the division first and then the multiplication?
Whichever comes first.
Right, whichever comes first from left to right. That's very important. Multiplication division, that part goes left to right. Lee, is that what you're going to say?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Same thing with addition subtraction. In what order do you do the addition and subtraction? Left to right. You're just going left to right. So this is pretty important. I can show a clear example where it makes a big difference. And that would be, let's say that you did 10 divided by 2 times 3. So a lot of people who just weren't grounded in that fact, that you go from left to right, they might say, oh, well, PEMDAS, M comes before D, so I have to do multiplication before division. And they would do that part first. And then they'd say, okay, 10 divided by 6. And then they do division, and they're like, oh, well, 10 divided by 6 is 10/6, which is 5/3, which is 1.33333. Well, first of all, this answer is incorrect. If you type it into a calculator or an Excel spreadsheet, that is not the answer that you would get. Because it does not go multiplication before division. It goes left to right. So the real answer, I'm just going to erase that. The real answer would have been first division, because that's from left to right. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then 5 times 3 is 15. And that's the correct answer. You go from left to right. Just a little fact, okay, this is super fun. What do you think, maybe you know, what do they call PEMDAS in Britain? What do the British call PEMDAS?
Please excuse my Sally.
Well, very good, very good. Yeah, probably the same, just like that. Lee, you know?
Is it Modmus?
Bodmas. Bodmas. It sounds like Christmas. Bodmas. All right, the Brits, they do it a little differently. I mean, they do it exactly the same. Order of operations is the same in Britain and everywhere in the world. It's not like driving on the right-hand side of the street on the left-hand side. It doesn't change anywhere in the world. Order of operations is the same, but they use a different phrase. So what does a B stand for, anybody? It stands for brackets. Because instead of saying parentheses, they say brackets. And then what does O stand for? That stands for order. So instead of an exponent, they refer to it as an order. Now, what does the DM stand for? Division mathematics. And what does the AS stand for? Addition subtraction. You'll notice that theirs and ours is a different order of the M and the D. So it cannot possibly be that you're supposed to do M before D, and then they do D before M, because then we'd all be getting different answers, right? So it's very important that it goes left to right. So as you go through and do this, I don't think I'll do every single problem because it is a review, and more importantly, I already posted the solutions online. So I think that this would be more of a better self-guided thing where you can go through and kind of think and review yourself. Like, do I remember this? Do I not remember this? So I have the solutions online, and you'll find them online when you go onto the Canvas site. But I do think I should highlight just a couple of them. Okay, so just a couple. For instance, a technique. Let's say that we wanted to look at a technique. And let's start by looking at number 3. So everyone, let's look at number 3 together. I'm going to write it down again, but you can just look at the part on your page. So here we go, number 3. Keeping PEMDAS in mind, what's the first thing that we're supposed to do? Parentheses. That means anything inside the parentheses. So I'm just going to focus on inside the parentheses. Inside the parentheses, what's the first thing I do? Put multiplication. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to underline just that one little bit. Just that one little bit. That's what I'm going to do right now. Nothing else, just the one little bit. And I rewrite the whole thing, and I say, okay, 24 minus 4 times 6 times 7 is 42, minus 37 parentheses. And this is the brilliance of mathematics. You never have to do a lot all at once. You just do a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit. Mathematics is all about baby stepping your way towards the answer. Okay, so now what? Again, what's the first thing we do? Parentheses. So I do what's inside the parentheses. So I underline. I say, okay, 42 minus 37, that's 5. So now I have 24 minus 4 times. Okay, so then what? Do we have parentheses to do anymore? Technically, no. The parentheses are just, there's nothing else to do inside the parentheses. So that part of the process is done. And the parentheses now just represents a multiplication happening between the 4 and 5. Okay, so then what's next? Do we have an exponent? No. Do we have multiplication or division? Yeah, so that's the part I'm going to do next. So I underline it and say, okay, 24 minus 20. And the next part is just subtraction. I underline the whole thing, and I say my answer is 4. Golly gee, I hope that's the same answer I got on my answer key. Oh, good, it is. All right. So when it comes to PEMDAS problems, I highly recommend you use this method of underlining the tiny little bit that you're doing right then. And you show your work step at a time. And this responds to the questions about your audience. Would an audience be able to follow along with that? I think fairly well, because they can see exactly the one thing you're doing. Whereas if you just kind of looked at this and you're like, 24 minus 20, and then that's 4. Would your audience be able to follow along with that? Probably not. Right? Your audience would probably be confused, like, well, how do they do that? So a lot of this class is we're really concerned about our audience. We love our audience, right? We want to take care of them. Okay, that is my phone letting us know that it's 1:30, which is just the time I set for break time. We get a 10-minute break, and class goes from 12:30 to 2:50. So now's as good a time as any to take a break. Does anyone know this song?
Oh, yeah.
What? Maybe you've heard it before. It's just called Everybody Dance Now. And for me, it means everybody stand now. So when we take a break, the only rule is you have to leave. Because I want everybody to stand up and get the blood pumping back through your body, get it out of your butt and back into your brain. So I'll stay in the room, but everyone has to at least leave. If you want to come right back in, you can. You have to at least exit the door, and then you can come back in, or just go out there and hang out. You know, you got 10 minutes. So here, what time is it? The time is 1:30 on the dot, so be back in the room at 1:40. There we go. My goodness. All right.
Mary's so here for you.
What's that?
Mary's so here.
Oh, no, that's okay. You don't need to. That's fine. I appreciate though. That's a very kind offer of you. Lee, how's it going so far? Good. What? How do you feel about the process? Or we haven't. You know, we're just barely now getting to the content. Once we do more content, I'll do more walking around to check on them. You know, are you comfortable?
Yeah.
You can feel free to stand, sit, whatever you want to do. Some squats.
I could. But yeah, everything looks good. They're doing good.
Yeah, I'm really happy with everyone's question asking. You knew the BODMIS, very nice. Now, at any time, you know, if you feel you have some insight, maybe I glossed over something, or you know, something else to be helpful, you can always feel free to raise your hand and share that too. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm becoming a teacher, I've joined up 2 different Facebook groups that will give you questions, and then they deal like from all over the world.
Oh, interesting.
So I do a lot of those.
Oh, very cool. What's the Facebook group?
It's learning mathematics.
Oh. Well, here I'm interested. Let me. Wait, I need to get my back a break here. I need to sit.
Some are good questions, and some of them are like, here's a joke for you kind of question.
Ah, very nice. Okay, Grandma.
So, let me get my phone so I find out what it really is. Oh, and you can also let them know if my times don't work for them, they can always come in and set a schedule up or set an appointment up.
I said that in an email to them. I said you had 1 hour available for by appointment.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure. The one. Why is learning and teaching mathematics?
Oh, that's cool.
I think a couple might have you answer a couple questions and stuff.
Learning and teaching math. Okay, cool. And then the other one is mathematical world. Yeah, nice. Well, this is fun. That also give me a slightly better feed. Mathematical world. I see more than one. In fact, I see many. Oh, that's the one you have. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Oh. Okay, perfect. Thanks, sir. Absolutely.
For number one, the answer is 27, right? No, not 27, 28.
For which one?
On the top one.
There's the answers.
We talking about 4 or?
Oh my gosh, and I have a typo. I can't believe it. Do you see what I did?
Here it's 11.
Silly me. I did 5 plus 2 is 6. That boy, that's wrong. Right, are we looking at number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, I'm embarrassed. Yeah, that should be 4 plus 1 times 7, and then 1 times 7 is 7, so 4 plus 7 is 11. Which one were you asking about, Hector?
Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, you already got one. Never mind. And, yeah, that should be 7.
I'll be doing my own answer sheet as well, so if you guys do have questions when you guys come in, I can always assist you guys as well over there.
Wait, you wrote that out, so.
I know, I wrote it, and I just made a mistake.
Okay.
And as you can see,
Because you said typo.
Oh, yeah, I call anything a typo if it's a mistake.
because you're still printing it, right? So
Yeah.
you'll get a drink.
Okay, sure.
It's good. So I'm not sure if it's Yes. That's that. And I didn't know about that. So I had to, I paid. But then some students. It's fine. Or we should, I don't know. I have to. And the difference. I used to.
Still working.
Glad. I'm glad.
Oh, I use my phone for time. I noticed sometimes clocks are slow or they're too fast.
All right, let's see. Okay, folks, everybody's back. It's roughly 1:40. I think it is 1:40. Here we go. It's 1:40. So let's keep going. First of all, Hector was good enough to point out to me that I had a typo in my very first problem, my very first entropy. 5 plus 2 is 7, not 6. Silly me. So this answer should actually be 5 plus 2 is 7, 1 times 7 is 7, 4 plus 7 is 11.
What's on the answer key?
Yeah, that's on the answer key I posted online.
As far as like the not to change.
Yeah, you don't have to change the problem. I just posted the wrong answer. So there we have it. One more problem that we could just all try as a group. So don't necessarily look at my answer here, but go ahead and try number 5 on your own. So number 5, let's compare answers real quick. So 4 times 5 plus 2. Give that a shot using the underlining method, where you think about PEMDAS and you go one step at a time and you think, okay, what's the one operation I'm going to do right now? And then underline it and solve it. And then you move on to the next line and you say, what's the one operation I'm going to do right now? And then underline it and then move on. Yeah, that's Oh, you did well, didn't you? Yes. Well, that's amazing. You can totally do that. You can absolutely plus. You did 20. That's fantastic. That's totally correct. What a delightful solution. Because you could also just say 4 plus 5. Because PEMDAS says to do anything in parentheses first. 5 plus 2 is 7. And then 5 times 7 is 35. And you get the exact same answer. But I found your solution completely delightful. That was great. Yeah, keep going. You can multiply that last one. Nice. Good. We're going to some with allergies color. Oh, yeah. I dig it. Very nice. Yeah, I like all of them. Hey, before we take another step, you want to have an argument with 4 times 5. But technically, you're not allowed to multiply that 4 times 5 yet, because you have these brackets, and you still have things inside the bracket that needs to be done. That's what the P in PEMDAS means. It says finish doing everything inside the parentheses before you do anything else. So if you go back to here, you were correct in doing 3 times 8 is 24. And now you're correct in subtracting those. And now, before you can deal with that 4, you have to do this inside these brackets. And you have 5 plus 2 times 12. You technically have to do the 2 times 12 first. So erase this line. It's just that line right there that needs to be done. Great. So I know this 2 times 12, because that's 5 plus 2 is plus, but 2 times 12 is multiplication. So I would write down the structure, put those brackets back in, put the same brackets. Very nice, and put 4 up front. So now on the inside, just underline the 2 times 12. There, so 2 times 12 is 24. So you're gonna write 5 plus 1. There you go. Now you still have something inside the brackets. So now you're gonna underline just the 5 plus 24. And then you move on and say 4 times 29. And now you finish the problem. Very nice. There you go. That's it. Okay, folks, looking good. Some of you underlined, some of you didn't underline. I would say the best recommendation for your audience is to underline so it makes it as clear as possible to your audience what you just did. So like starting here, within the brackets, within the parentheses, you do the 3 times 8. So then you have 4 times 5 plus 2 times 24 minus 12. And then next, within the brackets, within the parentheses, you have 24 minus 12. So now that's 4 times 5 plus 2 times 12. And then within the brackets, we have multiplication. So we do that first. Then we have 4 times 5 plus 24. And then within the brackets, we have 5 plus 24 is 29. 4 times 29. And then finally, you multiply that out. And what do you get? 116?
Yes.
Yeah. So, because 4 times 30 is 120, but it's one, yeah, so 116. Now, one thing you might feel when you look at that is you might say, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work, right? Because honestly, if you type this into your TI-82 with the brackets and the parentheses and everything, if you type that exactly into your calculator, it'll give you the answer 116. So you might just say, hey, Mr. G, on the test, can I just type it in my calculator? And to be honest, if you type that into your calculator and you got 116, that at least tells me that you know how to use parentheses. Because parentheses is one of the #1 skill on a calculator you can learn, is how to correctly put your answer in parentheses. So yeah, if you type that into your calculator and you got 116, I'd say, okay, wonderful, you clearly know how to use your calculator. But that's just one audience, is showing how to use a calculator. The other audience is step-by-step work. So yeah, that's a lot of work to show for one problem. But it really highlights what mathematics is about. Slow, step-by-step, orderly calculations where there's one answer and it's not up for grabs for someone's opinion. Okay, so as I said, you have the answer key online. You can look at that. I'd say maybe there's just one more thing I want to point out here before we move on. Let's flip to the back and look at number, let's say, 8. No, actually, better would be number 7. Let's look at number 7. So in number 7, we have evaluate a squared minus 3a plus 4. And we're going to evaluate it for a equals 2. A equals negative 2. So in this class, first of all, evaluate, what does the word evaluate mean?
So plug in the.
Exactly right, it just means plug it in. It means substitute. Evaluate means substitute, means plug in. So where are we going to plug negative 2 in? Yeah, everywhere you see an A. So just so everyone's on the same page with me as far as vocabulary, the first thing I'll always do with an algebraic expression, with a variable expression, is I will write it empty. So consider this phrase I'm using here. Write it empty. I'm going to say this a lot. Write it empty. What that means is everywhere I see a variable a, I'm going to replace that a with an open parenthesis. So watch. Instead of a squared minus 3a plus 4, I'm going to write something squared minus 3 something plus 4. And instead of saying a, I say something. And instead of writing a, I write open parentheses. Now, why did I just write down those empty parentheses?
Plug in.
Yeah, it gives me a space. It gives me an area where I can go ahead and plug in the negative 2. It's very helpful. So I call that writing it empty. So you take your variable expression, you write it empty, you replace each variable with an open parenthesis, and then that's where you can plug in your number. And now you can do some very careful calculations. So according to PEMDAS, what's the first thing we do? Right parentheses. We don't have anything inside parentheses, so we're done there. What's the next thing? Exponents. We do have an exponent, so negative 2 squared is what? 4. Negative 2 times negative 2. That's the definition. Negative 2 squared, by definition, is negative 2 times negative 2. And therefore, a negative times a negative is positive, and 2 times 2 is 4. So now we have 4. Next, we have negative 3 times negative 2. So again, 6 positive, because negative times negative is positive. And now we have this, and we just add them up from left to right. 4 and 6 is 10, and 4 is 14. So this is a great problem to highlight the method called writing it empty. You write it empty before you plug in your numbers. Okay, so that's a nice problem. Number 8, you're on your own. Now, number 9, very important distinction. What's the difference between -4 squared and -4 squared? You can listen to my voice. What's the difference between -4 squared and -4 squared? Is there a difference between these two things?
Yeah.
There is a difference. And you know how you can prove to yourself and your audience that there's a difference? Type it in your calculator. So go ahead and type it in your calculator. Type -4 squared, and then type parenthesis -4 parenthesis squared. And you can prove to yourself that there is a difference between these two things. So hopefully by next class, after a number, you guys have a graphic calculator you can bring. I do have some extras. What's that?
I have, I just forget.
Okay, no, fantastic. Just as long as you start bringing it. So in the case of -4 squared, what that really is, first of all, if you type it in your calculator, the answer is -16. And that's because this is technically a negative sitting in front of the calculation 4 squared. And one way you can think of it is really this is -1 times 4 squared. Technically, any negative number, like if I just write down the negative number, -25, that's technically -1 times 25. So any negative number, you can technically write -1 times that number in front of it. So -4 squared is really -1 times 4 squared. And now what does PEMDAS tell us to do first?
Isn't there also another way to think it as?
Yeah, oh, sure. You can think of a lot of different ways. Like how else would you want to do it?
-1 in parentheses times the next two regular 4, yeah, like that.
Yeah, totally. You could do it that way too. And so PEMDAS says to do what first? The exponent. So now we have -1 times 16, and -1 times 16 is -16. So the answer is definitely -16 because if you type it into a calculator, the answer is -16. That's how you think about it. Whereas the other one, -4 squared, well, what does PEMDAS tell us to do first? Still the exponent, and that means -4 times -4, and that's a negative times a negative, which is a positive. Yeah. So those two things are technically different, and it's very subtle, and that's a lot of what we'll talk about in class is the art of using parentheses. Because whenever you type anything into a calculator, there better be a whole bunch of parentheses to tell your calculator what to do next. All right. Just a couple more things to point out, and that would be the exponent rules. So we'll just go ahead and do number 11, 10, and 12. I'm going to go out of order. Number 11. Number 11, we want to multiply 5x to the 5th times 3x cubed. I want to give you a conceptual backup plan for multiplying things like this if you forget the rules. Because after all, rules are just things we memorize. What does this really say? So 5x to the 5th times 3x cubed. What we really have here, and I'd like you to write it down, what this really is 5 times x times x times x times x times x, 5 times 3 times x times x times x. That's really what that problem says. You're just multiplying a whole bunch of things. And now because of the commutative property of multiplication, you can rearrange the order of these terms, and I can just write down 5 times 3 times x, 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 x. Then you can break the computation mentally into multiply my numbers, that's 15, and then multiply my x's. How many x's do I have? 8. So that's the result of your computation. And what you'll probably remember from a previous math class is that when you have x to the power of a times x to the power of b, what's the answer? Yeah, what do you do with the 5 and the 3? You add them. So this is really the rule x to the power of a plus b. So that's just a little reminder of that exponent rule. And more importantly, this is just a rule. It's just something that you memorize. Being able to rewrite it so that you can clearly see why it's 5 plus 3 x's. That's really important. So that was number 11. Questions about that one? Number 10 next. We have 20x to the 10th over 5x to the 6th. Now again, what I'm about to write out, you might be like, oh, Mr. G, I don't want to write all this stuff out. But again, conceptually, it gets to the core of what we're doing. This is really on the top now in the numerator, 20 times x 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then on the bottom, I have 5 times x 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, when you write it all out like that, it gives you something concrete to deal with. What can you do with anything that you have on the top and the bottom?
Just structure. X and Y axis.
Yeah, you can start canceling out. So cancel, 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 cancel. Those are all gone. 20 divided by 5 is just 4. And then the x's are all in the numerator. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And so the answer is 4x to the 4th. Now this highlights another exponent rule. Well, first of all, 20 divided by 5 is 4. But the exponent rule states that x to the power of a divided by x to the power of b is what? Yeah, you subtract. So it's x to the power of a minus b. Now, right now, if you're like, gee, this is so easy, let's wrap it up here, do something tricky, I'm glad you feel that way. If it's been a while since you've seen this stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this stuff, or if you're seeing it and you're like, oh man, I remember seeing this a long time ago, but I haven't used it in a while. All those are fine emotional responses to be having. These are, skills we're going to be using all semester long. I promise it is going to become more challenging if you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, this is really easy. Last one, number 12. Good challenging problem here. We have x squared over 2 squared. So how do we simplify this? You mean multiply this one times that one?
Yeah.
That is true. That is the correct use of a rule. That is correct. You would do the 2 times 2 and you get to the 4th. Omar?
X cubed.
Which one? Oh, thank you very much. Even better. Thank you for pointing that out. What?
Just
Add what?
the x cubed and the 2.
You do not add the 3 and the 2.
You can just write it out, x3 over 2 times x3 over 2.
Very good. Very important. I would use the definition. The definition of squaring is to multiply it times itself. So the first thing we can do is say, well, that's really x cubed over 2 times x cubed over 2. That's one of the most helpful things you can ever do with an exponent is just use the definition, which is exactly what I did up there. Instead of writing x to the 5th, I wrote x times x times x times x times x. So use the definition of an exponent because it allows you to rewrite it as something simple. So now what do I have? Now what I really have is the first fraction is x times x times x, and then the next over 2. The next fraction is also x times x times x over 2. And now we all know how to multiply fractions. You multiply the tops, you multiply the bottoms. So on top, how many x's are being multiplied? 6 of them. And then on the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4. Now, the method I just showed you in all of these problems is time-consuming and writing-intensive. You've got to sit there and write out all the x's. Not everybody wants to do that, and that's why we memorize rules, like this rule and this rule. And in this case, the rule is that if you raise a variable to an exponent and raise it to another exponent, you do what? Multiply the exponents. Okay, so these are all rules, and rules are fine to memorize, so long as if you really had to, you could take a step back and just reason your way through it conceptually. Because sometimes we memorize the wrong rule, and then we're like, oh wait, is this the rule where I add or the rule where I subtract? And so if you can work your way through the problem conceptually, you can remind yourself what the rule is. All right, folks, well that was section 1.0. That's just to make sure, because it might have been a while since the last time you worked with these rules. Now we all have some clarity. I have the answer key online. You can go take a look at it. Hopefully I don't have any more typos. Okay, no.
I have a quick question. Do you
Yes,
want
Dave.
to circle the answers? Because
Well, I like it when you circle answers. Again, who's that easy for?
you heard the audience.
Your audience. It helps your audience see where in all of that work that you just showed is your final answer. Okay. So now let's see here. We have still 50 minutes. That's wonderful. So starting now in chapter 1, on the syllabus, it says we're doing section 1.0 and 1.1. So we're about to do section 1.1. So everybody turn the page, see where it says section 1.1. Now, a lot of 1.1 is vocabulary and definitions. So it's going to feel a little different than actually solving problems, like solving for x or multiplying or PEMDAS. Because right now we're going to clarify terminology and how we use words. So this first problem, 1.1, says sets of real numbers and the Cartesian coordinate plane. I should say plane. So sets of numbers. First of all, a set is just a well-defined collection of objects. So what are these number sets? It says draw the family tree of number sets. And we're to say natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, real numbers, and complex numbers. So that's a lot of vocabulary. What do each of those things mean? So let's start from the beginning. I'll start at the top and work my way down. The first number set we'll look at are the natural numbers. Now, natural numbers are, I like to call cave people numbers. They're the most basic number system that was there at the dawn of time, and it's just the actual counting numbers 1, 2, 3, up to infinity. It would answer the actual question, how many goats do you own? I own 2 goats. I own 3 goats. If you didn't own any goats, you would say, I don't own any goats. They didn't have a number 0 yet. They would just say, oh, I don't have any goats. So that's the natural numbers. The whole numbers include 0. 0 was a late technology invented in mathematics. It was only, I think 1000 AD that we started using 0.
They need something to symbolize nothing.
Exactly. It was a technology. It was an invention. So the whole numbers include 0. That's very minimal distinction between natural numbers and whole numbers. I underlined the O in whole numbers to remind myself that the 0 is the only thing that you get with the whole numbers. And then you have the integers, which simply includes plus and minus. So on a number line spectrum, you're going to go all the way from negative infinity up to negative 3, negative 2, negative 1 to 0, and then up again to 1, 2, 3, and all the way. So integers are all the whole numbers plus and minus and 0. Integers, if you look at the etymology of the word integer, it means whole. So it's all the whole numbers. Now you'll notice that as we work our way down, and this is why it's called a family tree, as you work your way down, each new number set includes all the ones above it. So you'll notice that integers includes all the whole numbers, and whole numbers includes all the natural numbers. So the next set I give you is going to include all the number sets above it. And the next number set is rational. Now just to clarify, the next 2 number sets are rational and irrational. And in society, how do we normally use the words rational and irrational?
To define somebody's state of being.
Yeah, somebody's state of being, sane or crazy, right? Like that's a very rational person. They make wise decisions. Or that person's irrational. They're driving all over the road, right? That's not how we mean it in mathematics. It's not sane or crazy. Rational, what's the root word?
Ratio.
Ratio, which means fraction. So a rational number is really a fractional number. So hundreds of years ago, all the math people got together in a meeting and they're like, let's call these numbers rational. I wish that at the very least we pronounced it rational. If we called them rational numbers. That would make it more clear that we're talking about fractional numbers. But even better, we would just call them fractions. Right? That's what we should call these numbers, is fractional numbers. So what are some rational numbers? Well, like 1/2 or 2/3 or -5/7. Anything that is the fraction of an integer over an integer. Okay, so just to be clear, that does not mean not -3.2 over 5.6. That's not a rational number because that's a decimal over a decimal. It has to be an integer over an integer, technically. So these are some rational numbers. What's another rational number? The number 8. That's not a fraction yet. What can you do to make it a fraction? Yeah, put a 1 under it. So 8 is really 8 over 1. And another rational number would be -2. How do I make that a fraction? Put a 1 under it. So now that's -2 over 1. Another rational number is 0. How do I make that a fraction? Put a 1 under it. So 0 over 1. All right, so anything that's a ratio of 2 whole numbers, that's a rational number. So clearly, all the integers are also rational numbers. Integers are also rational. Whole numbers are rational. Natural numbers are rational. Because you can put all those over 1, and it becomes a rational number. But you get a lot more out of the rational numbers because you have numbers like 2/3 and 1/2. Okay? One more example of what is a rational number is a square root. Like the square root of 9. That's rational. Because what's the square root of 9? 3. And how do you rewrite 3 as a fraction? 3 over 1. So there's a whole lot of numbers that fall under the category of rational, so long as you can write it as an integer over an integer.
So the only thing that's not a rational is decimals.
Right, and that's a really good point. It would have to be a decimal that is infinitely long without repetition. So to clarify that, this is how you recognize a rational number. Literally, it's a fraction of 2 integers.
Infinitely long without repetition, right?
Yeah.
Pi.
Yeah, pi. That'd be irrational. So before we move on to irrational though, let's just clarify. In the decimal representation, so decimal representation of a rational number, you have two choices. And 1/2 and 1/3 are perfect examples. They're the easiest fractions you can make. 1/2 is really what decimal? 0.5. And that decimal terminates. We normally use the word terminate. You can also just say stops. Point is, it stops. It's 0.5 done. Or 1/3 is 0.333333333. We normally write 0.3 with a bar on top. That means 0.3333333 repeated. So 0.3333333 dot dot dot. That means repeats. So a rational number, if you don't have access to look at the fraction, and all you can do is look at the decimal, you can still know a number is rational because the decimal terminates or repeats. So those are rational numbers. The decimals stop or repeat. Or you can write it as a fraction of an integer over an integer. Okay, so now perfect. That begs the question, what's an irrational number? So irrational, first of all, look at the etymology here. Ir, ratio, null. Ir, ratio, null. What does the prefix ir mean? Not. What'd you say?
I was getting nothing.
Okay. Ir. What's another word that starts with ir as a prefix?
Irresponsible.
Very good. Responsible, irresponsible. Clearly, ir means not. So,
Irrelevant.
what's that?
Irrelevant.
Yeah, irrelevant. Very good. That's relevant. That's not relevant. So, irrational means not fractional. So that means that it's a number that cannot be written as a fraction. So not fractional. That's our irrational number. So it cannot be written as a fraction of two integers. Okay? So some classic examples there, the one I already mentioned is pi. Pi cannot be written as a fraction. Now, in your grade school days, when you were a kid in elementary school or junior high, somebody might have told you that pi is roughly 22/7. Does anyone remember using 22/7? It's the smallest fraction that captures the most decimals of pi. If you look at 22/7, that's 3.142857. Repeating, 142857, and so on. But that's not actually the value of pi. Okay, pi is not equal to 22/7 because pi is not a fraction. There is no fraction of two integers that will exactly equal pi. Pi is actually equal to, and I can only remember it if I sing it to happy birthday, 3.1415926535897932384622. Right. So that's the first 20 digits of pi. And you'll notice, first of all, it doesn't stop. It's going to keep going forever, infinitely far. And there's no repetition at all. Okay, so nothing repeats, so that's a classic irrational number. There's no fraction of two integers that will ever exactly equal pi. 22/7 is just an approximation. And how good of an approximation? To 2 digits. So not very good. Right? I mean, it's only accurate to 2 digits. So pi is an irrational number. So are square roots that don't simplify. So I need my calculator because I don't have a song to remind me the digits of the square root of 2. Maybe someday I'll do that. The square root of 2 is 1.414213562, etc. So that decimal expansion also does not stop. It goes on forever, and it has no pattern. There's no repetition. So these are irrational numbers. Now, first of all, if you want to be really cool at a party, when you roll up to a math party and you say, and someone's talking about irrational numbers, you say, oh, irrational numbers? Now, people will think you're really cool. So irrational numbers, when you look at those decimal expansions, now again, remember, ir is a prefix that means not. Decimal expansions do not terminate, so they go on forever, and they do not repeat, so there's no pattern. There we go. So that's the difference between rational, rational, and irrational numbers. They would have been still, I think, a lot better if we had called them fractional and irfractional numbers. Nobody does that. But again, you'd be really cool at a math party if you said that. So, there we have it. All of these numbers that you see on the board, they are all called real numbers. Okay, those are all real numbers. And what we mean by that is that these real numbers are all located on a number line. So if you make a number line going to the left and right, positive, negative, infinity, that's the real number line. We use the word real. It's kind of, you don't have to say real, it's the number line. But all those numbers are on this number line somewhere, including pi, including root 2, including all those fractions, including 0, including all the whole numbers. They're all on the number line, and that's what we call real numbers. Numbers on a number line. So what are not real numbers? That's the complex numbers. Numbers that are not on the number line. Now, at first glance, that would just sound crazy. Like, what number is not on a number line? I mean, the number line kind of has it all, right? But the numbers that are not on the real number line, well, there's really only one number that's not on the number line, and that's the number, the square root of -1. Every non-real number can be broken down to simply the square root of -1. So first of all, on your calculator, what happens if you type in the square root of -1? It says error. It won't give you an answer because there is no answer. The square root of -1 is undefined. It's an error. There is no real number answer. The answer to the square root of -1 is not on that number line. It is not. However, we go ahead and we just, since the 1600s or so, we call that I. I stands for, I like you were going for the prefix. Imaginary, that's right. This is the imaginary number. It's imaginary because there is no answer to the square root of -1 that's on that number line. But that's okay. You know, answers to math questions don't have to only be on that number line. There are other types of answers that we can give to math problems that don't happen to fall on that number line. After all, we just did a problem a second ago when we said x cubed over 2 squared was x to the 6 over 4. Is that on the number line? That's not on the number line, right? So it's not that wild to say that there are answers to math questions that aren't on the number line. And so we define this thing called the square root of -1 as I. It's a number, it's just not on that number line. So complex numbers are of the form a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers. So for instance, you could have the number 2 plus 3i. But we call that a complex number because you have the real part and the imaginary part. We will get to using numbers like these towards the, middle end of class. I'd say the main thing to notice is that we've got all these real numbers on a number line, and then you have the square root of -1, which we refer to as I. So these are number sets. Now that we've said all that and you wrote all that down, is that going to be on your test? Probably not even a little bit. I probably won't even include one question on the test where I'm like, what's pi? Right? But see, this is the vocabulary of mathematicians. If you want to be able to go to a math party and fit in and know what everyone's talking about, you need to understand this vocabulary just as a baseline in order to understand the types of problems that they're talking about. So now that I've said that, though, will you have problems like this on your homework? Yes. So when you go in here, I'm going to show you one more time. So here's the More website. And I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down here to Module 1. That's Chapter 1. I click on it. There's Section 1.0. Let me close all these real quick. So these are all the different sections in Chapter 1. Section 1.0, Section 1.1. We've now covered all of Section 1.0 and part of 1.1. Let's just look. So here's Section 1.0. You see that there's a textbook. There's a video lesson. This is the actual video lesson right here. It says Video Lesson 1.0. Your responsibility is to go home, click on that, and then for each video that pops up, here we go. You've got 8 videos there. You're responsible to at least click play and scroll through. By all means, if you feel the need to listen, you should listen. But if you're like, oh, no, I totally know all this stuff. I'm good. Then you can just click, I've completed this section and I've watched the video. Move on to the next one and click that you've watched all of these videos. Again, you should watch them. But if you're like, oh my gosh, I totally know this stuff, I don't need to watch this, then by all means, just click that you've taken a look at it and scrolled through it, and that's fine. Okay, so those are the videos. The next thing you would do after the video assignment is click on the actual assignment, assignment 1.0. Within those questions, there they are. You got 12 questions there. It's going to give you some problems to do. Notice this problem really highlights the subtle use of parentheses. Those two solutions, even though they're all the same numbers and they're all plus, those answers will be different on your calculator. And that's what they want to check to make sure that you know how to use parentheses correctly. Now notice when you type in these answers, So I think the first one's 40, and then the next one is 84, and 84, and you type them in, you hit submit. If you get them all, great, you're done, and you click on question 2. Well, let's say you get to a problem, you type in the answer is 70, and you click submit, and then it says, oh darn, I didn't get credit for it. So you can continue to type in the answer until you get it right. So this is actually 2 plus 2 plus 15 is 19, and let's say we type it in that time, and we get it right, oh goody. If you didn't get it right, and you're like, oh no, what's the answer? You click on the video, and somebody's gonna walk you through how to solve that problem. Well, not the exact problem, something like it. Or you click message the instructor, and I'll email you back. Or you click post it to the forum, and anyone else in the class can message you. So that's how you work through the questions. Now, for instance, to go into section 1.1, which is where we are now.
We can set an account for this.
What?
We can set an account for this.
You do set up an account for it. It's on the first page of your syllabus. It says how to get access to the More website. It gives you a course ID and a login password. Okay, so now here's section 1.1. This is the section we just did with number sets. So I click on the assignment after watching the videos, of course. And let's just look here. It says, in which set of numbers would you find the number 0? So let's just check. Where is 0? Is 0 a natural number?
Nope.
No. Whole number?
Yep.
Yes. Integer?
Yep.
Yes. Rational?
Yeah.
Yes. Irrational?
No.
No. Because the decimal representation of 0 is 0.0. It stops. It's just 0. So 0 as a decimal terminates, so it's rational. Plus 0 can be written as 0 over 1, so it's rational. So 0 is rational. Furthermore, is 0 a complex number? Well, I don't think they even bother with complex. That's just a definition we threw out there. It's not really going to test it. So what you would do now is click all the ones that apply. So 0 is rational, 0 is not irrational, 0 is an integer, 0 is a whole number, 0 is a real number, 0 is not a natural number. I check mark them all, I click submit. Whammo, I got it right. I move on to question 2. So root 46, that is real. If you type it into your calculator, root 46 is going to be something like 6.8972693446. So it's not a whole number. It's irrational because it doesn't simplify. It's not a fraction. It's not a natural. It's not an integer. Let's say I get one wrong, and I click submit. Oh, darn, I got a lot of credit, but not all credit. So now I have to go figure out what my mistake was. If I take away integer, try it again, now I get full credit. So I want you to know that you can keep trying that problem over and over and over again until you get the right answer, which is very helpful. And when you're all done, you can even click show answer, and then it will show you the answer. But I think that's only after the due days passed.
Are we grading on correction or just completion?
What?
Are we graded on correction or just completing it?
It's based on the grade that you get for each one.
Okay.
So like, for instance, you could complete the entire thing and have all the answers incorrect. You get 0 points.
Okay.
Yes, it does have to be the right answer. But like I said, you can just keep trying it over and over until you get it. You can watch the video, you can email me, and you can post the question in the forum. Yeah. Okay, well there we have it. Those are some practice problems that you'll see in more. So now let's go to the next section.
You can also come in and see me as well.
Oh yeah, let's not forget, you can come see Lee anytime. So, again folks, these are definitions. They're the types of number sets that are out there. Are we going to solve a problem directly where we're like, solve this problem about an irrational number? Not necessarily. But there's all sorts of really great YouTube videos out there for math enthusiasts where they talk about specific rational and irrational numbers, and they're really interesting. So see, having the vocabulary now allows you to go watch some really interesting math videos that just talk about math theory in general. Okie dokie. Now here's our big lesson for the day. My main goal is to get through this. If we get past this, that's great. But this is a really important concept that you're going to use for the rest of your life, or at least for the rest of your math classes. And it's really like learning a whole new language, like French or German, or some just completely other language. Now, if you've seen it before, that's wonderful. But I'm going to assume that you haven't necessarily seen it before. Now, let's just take a look at those notes that you have on the top part there. Okay. On the left-hand column, what do you call expressions like these? What would you call them if you called them anything? What symbols are they using?
Greater than, less than.
What?
Greater than or equal to.
Yeah, they're using greater than or less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. There's no equation signs in there. These are not equalities. They are,
Inequalities.
they're not functions yet because it's not f of x. They're inequalities. These are inequalities. And now notice, so everybody, right at the top of this column, write inequalities. So now there's another prefix that means not. Inequality. Irrational. Inequality. Infractional. Anyway, we use different prefixes to mean not. In, ir. So those are inequalities. So this whole column here talks about inequalities. Now, what's the difference between greater than and greater than or equal to? When I say x is greater than 5, what numbers are we talking about?
X, I'm 5 and above.
6, 7, 5 and above?
I'm sorry, no, it's 6 and above.
Yeah, 6 or above, or even 5.1 and above. So basically, any number that's technically bigger than 5. So are we including 5? No, not including 5. Just numbers bigger than 5. What about x is greater than or equal to 5? Yeah, now it's 5 and above. So this would be strictly bigger than 5. This is 5 and above, right? Now, these are how we write down all these inequalities. So you can just read on down. Let's take a look at this one. What numbers am I talking about? Oh, you can break it down. What am I talking about right here? Less than 5, but now I'm talking about greater than 1. So I'm looking about all the numbers that are between 1 and 5. Strictly between 1 and 5. So you can't actually say 5 and you can't say 1, but any number between, from 1.1 all the way up to 4.9. Okay, so that's what that means. This is a little different. What do I mean here? X is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 5. How's this different? And now you're including the 1 and the 5. So now you're including it. This is subtly different. What am I talking about now? Between 1 and 5.
Greater than or equal to.
But I can include the 1. And here, what am I saying? Between 1 and 5, but I can include the 5. So this is very subtle, the difference uses of less than or equal to versus just less than. We call that strict inequality, and then we call this less than or equal to. Okay. Now, what does this mean? Yeah, 1 or the other. So x is less than 1 would mean numbers smaller than 1. Or numbers bigger than 5. So it's really helpful. You know, technically you say things like x is less than 1. X is greater than 5. But in English, it's nice to say numbers smaller than 1. Numbers bigger than 5. Right? You can just say smaller and bigger as well, in addition to less than or equal to and greater than. Okay, so that's what all of these inequalities are talking about. It's just ways to talk about what types of numbers you're thinking about. So just as a quick and easy example, I'm sure you've all played the game, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. How would I write that as an inequality? I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10.
It'd be
Yeah.
greater than or equal to.
Or less than or equal to.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Okay, so x is greater than or equal to 1 or
Less than.
less than or equal to 10. So there we go. That's the game. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Now, just to be funny, like if you were a jerk and you're like, hey, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10, and someone said 10, you're like, no, sorry. I was thinking not including 1 or 10. that would be very nice. Like nobody would know that that's what you meant. If you say I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10, traditionally you're including the 1 and 10 as a possible answer. So those are slightly subtle different things. Okay, well there we go, folks. The whole first column is called inequalities. Now the first thing that you could do with an inequality is draw the number line. So right next to it now up at the top right, number line. Now notice the number line is the real number line. The number line that has all the real numbers, rational, irrational, whole, integer, natural, but not imaginary numbers. There are no imaginary numbers on that number line. So now all of these are number lines. Now how does that work? Let's compare first of all. This first one says x is greater than 5. That means strictly bigger than 5. And what do they have here on the 5? It's an open circle. It's called an open circle or an unshaded circle. And they shaded bigger than 5 to the right of 5. What about here? They said x is greater than or equal to 5. What did they put? Yeah, shaded circle. Shaded means included. So if you have an open circle, you're not including the 5. And if you have a shaded circle, you are including the 5. Okay? And so on and so forth for all the rest of the problems. What's the only difference really in all of these? Is an open circle or a closed circle. So open is strictly bigger than, Closed means could be equal to, right? Let's compare this fella now. So x is between 1 and 5, including the 1 and 5, and you'll notice the number line is between 1 and 5, and they used closed circles on the 1 and 5 because it could be equal to 1 and 5. Unlike this one, between 1 and 5, where you're not saying you could be equal to 1 or 5, and so they used open circles, and you're only technically shading in between. Now, so how would I draw my number line for this? I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10.
Draw the line. Draw a shaded circle.
Yeah, I'm going to use shaded circles on 1 and 10,
And then fill in between.
and then I just shade everything in between. So is that fair? Does that feel okay and comfortable? Okay, now right up front, what I want to tell you now is what shading represents. I haven't filled in the notes up there yet, but now's a good time. What does shading mean?
Equals the number in the
Very good, it means including. It's including it. Yeah, very good. Shading means including. Shading also means truth. Fundamentally, anytime you shade anything in mathematics, it means it could be a true answer to the question. That's included within the set of real possible answers, it means truth. So shading, you can go and put it up at the top of your page now. Shading means included in the answer, and it also means truth. So that's how we shade. And so a closed circle, technically, what is a closed circle? It's shaded.
Shaded.
That's what a closed circle is. It's a shaded circle, which means you shaded that number. And then here the shading means you're shading all those numbers. Okay, so then how would I do the number line for, I'm thinking of a number strictly between 1 and 10. Yeah, open circles. So now I got my open circle on 1 and 10, and I shade everything in between. So it could be anything between 1 and 10. So it could be 1.001, and that would be part of the truth. Or it could be 9.99999, and that would be part of the truth. But we're not including the 1, and we're not including the 10, because it's strictly less than, and so it's an open circle. All right. Well, one last number line to look at, and that's if you use the word or. Now, when we talk about or, we're talking about to the left and to the right, meaning it could be smaller than this, or it could be bigger than this. So when we look at, here's a nice example, x is less than or equal to 1, then I go to the 1, and I put a closed circle, because I'm saying it could be equal to 1, and it's less than, so I shade to the left. Or, totally other option, x is greater than 5. So I go to 5, and it's greater than, so I put an open circle, and I shade to the left.
Will we have one use the test?
Absolutely. Yeah, this will run through our whole semester. Throughout our whole semester, we're going to need to be able to flexibly think about inequalities, number lines, and that third column, which is the most important column.
So using the shading portion, what else would you use?
Instead of using what?
Because like the way I've done it before is using brackets or.
That's what we're about to do. So these are inequalities, these are number lines. This is called interval notation. So write down interval notation on this last column. Interval notation. So interval notation, and you can write this up at the top of the page as well. Interval notation is a lazy person's number line. That's it. It's just a number line without the number line. Interval notation is a lazy person's number line. Is that fair to say, Lee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, and in fact, that is why it was invented. Because mathematicians don't want to sit around making number lines all day. It takes extra time and energy. If you can just write down the core information, you're good to go and you're done. So when we look, let's just discover this for ourselves. What symbol, so that's greater than 5, what symbol do they use with the 5 when it's an open circle?
Parentheses.
Well, infinity because you're going off to the right to infinity, but what symbol did you use with the 5? A parenthesis. Whereas when it's a closed symbol, closed circle, what symbol do you use? Bracket. So there we go. That's the definition right there. That if you're not including the number, it's a parenthesis. If you are including the number, it's a bracket. Okay, so I'm going to do my thinking of a number between 1 and 10 as an example here. I'd like to write down this number line lazily. Then instead of writing the whole number line and shading a bunch of stuff, I'll just write down the numbers 1 and 10. And since that's included, I'll put a bracket. And that's included, I'll put a bracket. And that's it, that's interval notation. It's a lazy person's number line, so you don't have to draw the whole number line and shade things. We can just say I'm thinking of the numbers between 1 and 10. Likewise, if I want this number line, I would just keep the numbers of interest, 1 and 10, and I'd say I'm not including the 1, so I'll do a parenthesis. I'm not including the 10, I'll do a parenthesis. And then that's it. That's interval notation. It's a lazy person's number line. So what I think is important is for us to do a few of these together as a group to see how this works. So I think what I'll do is I'll start towards the top, and we have all this space over here to the right where we can do some examples. The first thing I think we should do is just quickly write down the rules. So here are the rules. So if you want to talk about not including a number, okay? So that's strictly greater than or less than, open circle, parentheses. If you want to not include, and by not include, I mean not shade, then you would use the symbols greater than, sorry, less than, greater than, an open circle, or a parenthesis. Those are the symbols that mean you're not including that particular number as the truth of your answer set. It'd be strict, bigger than or less than, it'd be an open circle, and or it'd be parentheses on your interval notation. Whereas if you want to talk about including, as in shade, you are shading the number, you are including the number, then you're talking about less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, you're talking about a closed circle, and you're talking about brackets, as the British would say. So them's the rules. At the very least, I would have these rules out somewhere in front of you. You know, it's just in the beginning while you're still getting into this. Those are the rules that go together. One other rule that you can all notice from the table, what symbol does the infinity always get? Yeah, infinity always gets a parenthesis. And for very good reason. Right? Because infinity gets a parenthesis because you can't shade infinity. Like when you look at a number line, so here's 0, here's 1, here's 2. Will you ever get to a number called infinity that you could shade? No, absolutely not. Infinity is an idea. It's a direction. It's a location. So not a location. It's a direction. So you'll never actually get to infinity, so you could never shade it. Therefore, it's an open circle or a parenthesis. So infinity is part of the unincluded.
Unobtainable.
Yeah, it's unobtainable. Unobtainable. So there we have it. Those are our rules. And what we're about to do is one of the best examples of how solving a problem always works best if you draw a picture first. So we'll just do a few of these. Okay? Let's start with x is less than 5. So I'm just going to go off to the right here. You can do this with me. I'm just doing some examples with you. X is less than 5. That's the inequality. Now, if somebody said to you, write that in interval notation, to make the mental leap from x is less than 5 to interval notation, I think is challenging. It's better to do a picture first. So what's x is less than 5? First of all, anytime you make a number line, you don't have to go tick, 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 and label a bunch of numbers. What's the only number I have to label? 5. Now I'm saying x is less than 5. So open or closed? Open. Less than 5, left or right? Left. Now, what number do I put over here? Negative infinity. Very good. So now I have x is less than 5 means shade all the numbers to the left of 5. Now, interval notation is just a lazy person's number line. What two numbers am I going to write down? Negative infinity and 5. Now I just have to choose my symbol. Infinity always takes a parentheses, and this 5 takes a parentheses as well. So there we go. We kind of leapfrog our way to the answer. So you start with the inequality, draw a number line to really make it obvious to yourself, and then you just write down the lazy person's number line, which is called interval notation. So now, everybody go ahead and do that same thing for x is less than 5. Less than or equal to 5. Go ahead and do x is less than or equal to 5. Make a real number line, and then make your interval notation. Super good. That was great. Anyway, I like how you wrote, this will be on the test. In fact, it'll be on every test. Every test in this class will use interval notation. Yes, they do. You're doing it. So, and since this is actually x is less than or equal to, what kind of circle? Yeah, very good. And then which infinity is that? Positive infinity? Or negative? Let's open here to the left. Negative, yeah. And you can remember, because if 5 is there, you can put a tick mark over 0. So you know that everything to the left is going to be. All right. Yeah, very good. And then those two numbers become an interval. Very nice. Okay, so I'd like to walk us through it. How do I do this? They draw a line.
5.
Put a 5.
And then a shaded.
Shaded circle, closed circle.
Then you go to your left.
My left, not your left. Just my left.
Your left. Only yours.
Okay, perfect. And then what number is this?
Negative
Negative infinity. Okay, and then finally,
parentheses.
I'll write the numbers first, but yeah, parentheses for there and bracket for there. Very nice. That's it. So interval notation is lazy person's number line, and that honestly is the historical derivation of interval notation, because mathematicians wanted a quick way to give answers that didn't involve writing, drawing a picture. But the picture is very helpful. Okay, so let's do one of these. Now, right over here to the left, if you can draw a little curly bracket around these 4, where the x is in the middle. These are called compound inequalities. So you can go ahead and write that, compound inequalities, compound, meaning you actually have 2 inequalities in one statement. That's pretty unique, right? Because you would never see something like 1 is equal to x is equal to 4. Are you ever supposed to have 2 equation signs in a statement? No, that would never happen. You can never have 2 equal signs in an equation. But you can have 2 inequality symbols in an inequality. You can have as many inequality symbols as you like. So these are called compound inequalities, and the key word that you want to associate with these is in between. We're shading in between 2 numbers. 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 And critically, where is x? In between 2 numbers, right? So these are called compound inequalities. You're shading in between. So let's try one of those. We'll do about the third compound inequality. I'm going to write it down first. 1 is less than x is less than or equal to 5. So this is a compound inequality. X is literally in between 2 numbers. You're going to shade in between 2 numbers. So let's do it as a group. Who'd like to walk us through this one? Go for it, Gabe.
So start with 1,
Yeah.
1, and then straight to 5.
Great.
Next, you would put an open circle for 1. You have a closed circle, shaded circle for 5, and then you shade it between.
Exactly. Now, folks, I hope all of you just noticed that if Gabe was my manager and I was the employee, did I just get hired?
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I hope, right? But I mean,
Check your resume.
yeah, he'll check my resume, do a background check, and maybe some reference checks. But the point is, his instructions were sufficient for me to do the work.
Finish with
All right, so we now have to keep going. Okay, now what do I do?
put the 1,
Yeah, 1, comma 5.
and then open circle with your parentheses and the closed one.
Very good. Yeah, so again, showing his work. He was the instructor, I was the audience. I wrote down exactly what he told me, and it was correct. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about communicating mathematically, is are you showing enough work or giving enough verbal instruction that somebody else can follow along and do it? Okay, so very nice, that's it. So that's compound inequality. You're shading in between, x is in between. So now let's look at those bottom ones. At the bottom, these are not called compound inequalities. In fact, I don't even know if they have a name. Do these things have a name?
Not that I know.
Yeah, not that I know either. You could call them or inequalities, because you're going in 2 different directions. I call these left or right. If up here I was calling these in between, I call these left or right, because you shade left or right. You actually shade left and right.
You could call
We
it
don't use the
your
word and.
compound. You could call them your compound or in compound.
Yeah, you call them something else. They make up a name for it. We're using or, meaning going left or right. I like left or right because that's a phrase, go left or right. Anyway, so now we have shading left or right. So let's do one of these. How about we'll go ahead and do this one. The second or inequality. So x is less than or equal to 1, or x is greater greater than 5. So the fact that we now have this or option means you know that you're going to be shading left or right. So we'll start with the number line.
Number 1.
Yeah, we'll give you just did one. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Who'd like to try this one out? Go for it, Omar.
So it's a 1 and a 5.
So I put a 1, I put a 5.
And for the 1, it would be a shaded circle.
Very good. Close circle.
And for the, it's an open circle.
Open circle, very good. And now how do I shade?
The 1 goes left.
Yep.
And the 5 goes right.
Very good. So there we go. And what number is way over here on the left?
Negative.
Very good. And the number way over here on the right?
Infinity.
And that's totally fine to just say infinity. Sometimes people say positive infinity to be clear that it's not negative infinity, but if you just say infinity, we all know we're talking about positive infinity. Okay, so we have our number line now. So now we have to turn this into interval notation. Remember, interval notation is a lazy person number line. So I have this interval, and I have this interval. That means there's 2 intervals. So the first interval we write down is negative infinity to 1. What symbols do I use, Nadine?
For that, I use
Parenthesis and
right.
bracket, very good. This interval over here is going to be 5 to infinity. What symbol do I use for the 5, Emily?
Parentheses.
And what symbol do I use for the infinity? Valeria? Yeah, parentheses. Now we just need a symbol to connect these two, and we use the symbol U. It's capital U. It means union. It means or. In set theory, we use the phrase union and intersection. That's the technical terminology in set theory. Using the word or would be just fine, but technically it's the letter U, capital U. All right, well, very nice, folks. So, what is this that we just learned? It's the way you give your answer in a mathematical community. You can either give your answer as an inequality, or you can give your answer as a number line, or you can give your answer as an interval notation. We haven't even solved a problem yet. We're just talking about how do you report your answer to an audience. So, let's go ahead and take a look real quick at more. So I'm going to just scroll on down here to the first problem on, here we go. Which of the following graphs corresponds to the set negative infinity to 6? So right up there at the top, you see negative infinity to 6. That's the interval notation. What are we talking about? Which one of these graphs is negative infinity to 6? And keep in mind, that means we have to shade between negative infinity and 6. Is it the third one? How do we know for sure? What symbol's on the 6?
Open.
Yeah, a parenthesis, that means open. So let's try it, the third one, let's check. That is correct. Okay, let's try another one. There's number 6. Which of the following choices represents this graph? So this graph, you'll notice there's an arrow there. It goes past the negative 6. So we're going from negative infinity to negative 4. So negative infinity on the left, negative 4 on the right. So which one of these is the correct interpretation as an interval?
The last one.
Yeah, the very last one, because you're shading from negative infinity to negative 4, and the 4 has a closed circle. That means included. That means use a bracket, and we hit submit, and that's correct. Now again, no stress when you do this work. You know, you get to a problem, you type something in. This says to express the set x is greater than negative 4. So let me try that. X is greater than negative 4. I immediately draw a number line. Greater than means open circle. Greater than means to the right. To the right is positive infinity. I have negative 4 to infinity. That's an open circle, so it's a parenthesis. That's an infinity, so it's a parenthesis. There's my answer, theoretically. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to type down negative 4 to infinity. Now, how do I type infinity? It says use OO, 2 lowercase o's for infinity. So I'll type OO and parenthesis. I hit submit. Oh, darn, I got it wrong. What did I do wrong? I know it's really hard to see that. Maybe it's too small.
Is it the bracket?
It's the bracket. I wasn't supposed to do a bracket. I was supposed to do a parentheses, right? Negative 4 to infinity, submit. There we go. Now I got it right. Now, one other thing for you to notice, look at where you type in your answer. Do you see the little yellow box? The little yellow box offers you choices of symbols. So you have the negative infinity symbol, the infinity symbol, the U for union, and DNE. What does DNE stand for?
Does not
Does not.
equate or
Does not exist.
exist.
Very good guess. Does not exist. So there we have it, folks. Those are all some uses. Okay, so here we go. This one, I'm going to write it down first. P is less than negative 6 or P is greater than or equal to 4. Now, folks, when you're at home and you're doing your homework, you should have a spiral-bound pad of paper that you're going to organize and label very clearly to match all your homework. So you start your homework, you write down assignment 1.1, and then you write down number 1, show your work. Number 2, show your work. Right now I'm at number 8. So I would write number 8, and then I would show all my work. I'd say, okay, what do I got here? I got a -6, I have a 4, there's an open circle, that's a closed circle. Less than means left to negative infinity. Greater than means right to positive infinity. Now I have my 2 intervals. This one's negative infinity to -6 with a parenthesis. This one is from 4, which is a bracket, up to infinity. And see, if I have all this neatly labeled in a notebook, I can always go back and look. Refresh my brain. How did I get my answer? How did I do that? Am I going to collect your notebook? No. It's just for you and for the goodness of your soul, right? That you're organized and you have this stuff written down. So I'm going to write down my answer here. I'm going to say that's negative infinity or 0, 0, 0, to -6, parenthesis, u, parenthesis, no, bracket, 4, 0. And goody, that's it. Now, folks, in the beginning, okay, so my phone means it's 2:45. That means we have 5 minutes left in class. Anyone know this song?
Green Day.
What?
Green Day is.
It's not Green Day, but I love Green Day. This is REM. REM. And it's the end of the world as we know it, because it's the end of class as we know it. So we have 5 more minutes. Let's just wrap up a few things and we'll be done. Okay, so with more, I totally admit that in the beginning, for the next couple days, maybe a week or 2, you might feel frustrated by the system because you're learning how to do it. One common thing I see happens with students is that they say, I have the right answer, but it's not liking the way I type it in. And totally, that's going to happen. It's going to happen to each of you, okay? You're going to have the right answer, but maybe you type it in with a slightly wrong symbol, you use a parenthesis instead of a bracket, or you just type it in without the right parentheses. The subtitle of this class should be Math 150, College Algebra, the Subtle Art of Parentheses. Okay, because parentheses are so important. Not just typing it into more, but typing it into your calculator and getting the right answer. So just know we're all friends here. You know, if you have a problem typing it in, that's why you type message instructor, and then you say, hey, Mr. G, I'm typing in this answer, but it's not giving it to me. And I'll write you back and I'll say, you need parentheses right there. And then you'll type in the parentheses and you'll get it. And slowly but surely, we'll all learn how to use parentheses correctly and you know, how to use the system. All right, I still have a couple minutes. So right below that now, you had some practice problems. So we didn't quite get to do all these practice problems. Well, we didn't do any of these at all yet together. And so the idea would be to practice going back and forth between all the different possibilities. You know, if you start with inequalities, do the interval and the number line. If you start with the interval, do the number line and then the inequality and so forth. So I don't want to rush anything. We just acknowledge we didn't finish all of 1.1. So when you go home tonight and you start your homework, just do the problems you feel comfortable with. As soon as you get to a problem that you don't feel like we covered in class, don't try to do it. I don't want you to feel frustrated. Just wait until the next class period where we do get to it. But since I do have 3 minutes, let's tackle a couple more of these problems. So I just want to demonstrate how you do these. Let's do, we're going to do about, well, okay, I'll just start at the top. Now, first of all, this is a set of real numbers. They put in some extra vocabulary here. Instead of just telling you the inequalities, right, that's the inequality right there, that's all you really need to know, they gave you this extra vocabulary. So what does that say? This says, I'm thinking of all the numbers, that's what set notation is for, I'm thinking of all the numbers x such that x is between -1 and 5. So that's what that extra notation says. This is a bracket, which means the set of numbers. X means all the numbers. This vertical line means such that. So that's how you read this notation. It says, I'm thinking of a set of numbers such that those numbers are between -1 and 5. So if that's where you start, the next step would be to draw a picture. So now you have your number line, you put the -1, you put the 5, that's a closed circle, that's an open circle, you shade in between. Now you're done with the number line, you want to do interval notation, you keep the numbers, and you do the symbol. So closed circle means bracket, open circle means parentheses. And that would be all of your answers that you fill in there. I realize they have it going sideways. Should move it sideways. There we go. And then, all right. So that's the first line of that set of problems. Now the next one you'll notice starts you with the interval notation. So what would you do first? If you start with the interval notation, what would you do next? The number line or the inequality? I would say number line every time, because the picture is always the right thing to do next. Right? If you haven't drawn a picture yet, draw a picture. So what's our number line? It's going to be 0 and 3. What symbol do I put at the 0? Closed circle. What symbol do I put on the 3? Open circle. Now watch this. Since this is still a 0 and a 3, and I know I'm shading in between them, so my x is in between them, what symbol do I put between the x and the 0? Less than or equal to, because it's a closed circle. Whereas over here, what symbol do I put between the x and the 3? Just less than, because it's an open circle. Now, by the way, I mean, I suppose on here what they really want to see is this bracket notation where I can say set of all numbers x such that x is between 0 and 3. And that's what they'd be looking for. Yeah, in all of these problems, I'd always say the next best thing is to make a picture, because in the picture you can interpret in both ways. Now, I know that I'm about to, oh, yep, it is technically 2:50. Can't force you to stay any longer. So let's just recap where we are. We're right here. When you come back to class on Wednesday, we'll start right back up where we left off. So we'll wrap these up and then try a couple of these problems, and then we'll move on to the rest of the section. One thing real quick though, just so you don't go home butting your head up against the wall, that is a typo. Why is that a typo? Can you have infinity on the left and a 9 on the right? Now that should have been a negative infinity, right? Then it would make sense, because negative infinity is to the left of 9. Or, what's the other possible typo then? We can't have a bracket there because it's infinity. That could be a bracket, but you still can't interpret infinity to the left of 9.
Switch to 9?
But if they had switched the two. Yeah, so it's one of those, right? You choose. Either they meant negative infinity to 9, which you could reasonably interpret as a number line, because then you'd have negative infinity over here. Or they meant 9, infinity, in which case you'd have 9 and infinity over here. And I'd just like to point out, that was fun. Right? Typos are frustrating and they're unfortunate, but it's fun to figure out what they meant. That's like Sherlock Holmes, you know? That's a typo, it doesn't make sense. What did they mean? So what do you think? Did they mean this one or did they mean this one? Did they forget a negative sign or did they invert the numbers? Who knows? But you can solve both, right? Okay, well, wonderful, folks. Really nice to meet you. Excited about this class. Thanks for all of your questions. Thanks for your participation. Go home, read through Canvas, read through more, send me emails, send me jokes. Yep.
I will be the Learning Center in 10 minutes.